days, it feels like movies are so focused on stuff like franchise power that details like who will actually direct the film get treated like an afterthought. Therefore, I think it is great when you have a director like Quentin Tarantino, where it is his name and his directing style that draws people in, curious to see what he will do with his next film. The film I will be reviewing today, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, is Quentin Tarantino's 9th film, and definitely an interesting piece of work by the famed auteur. Before I jump into my review though, I'd love to know your thoughts on all this. Whether it be during or after the video, feel free to voice your opinions in the comments below. With that out of the way, let's jump in. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is basically a love letter to 1960s Hollywood and shows how different individuals deal with the final years of Hollywood's golden age. At the center of the film are Rick Dalton, an actor who gained fame and fortune by starring in a 1950s television western, but now fears his career might be over, and Cliff Booth, Rick's easygoing best friend and longtime stunt double who has trouble finding work due to a bad reputation. As we follow the two friends and their struggle to make it in a Hollywood they hardly recognize anymore, we also learn that Rick happens to live next door to Sharon Tate, a budding actress who is destined to cross paths with the Manson family. So I'm just gonna say it outright, but I loved this movie. I mean, seriously. While I went in expecting to like it, I came out more than satisfied. First of all, though I don't think there was any doubt in their abilities, I think that everyone involved did a great job with their performances. When it comes to the two leads, I think that Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt did an awesome job not only selling us their individual characters, but bringing them together in a way where their deep friendship felt believable. DiCaprio being this crybaby actor trying to prove himself, and Pitt being the cool, laid-back friend showing support, works really well, and was honestly quite a bit of fun to watch. As for other performances, whether it was Margot Robbie as a bright-eyed Sharon Tate, Al Pacino as fast-talking casting agent Marvin Schwartz, or even Julia Butters as Dalton's no-nonsense child co-star Trudy Frazier, I still felt that everyone was memorable in their own way, and helped add to the overall tapestry of Tarantino's Hollywood. Speaking of which, it's weird because even though I was not around at all during this time period, I think the movie does a great job of capturing the era and making you feel nostalgic for it. From the cars, to the music on the radio, to the movies and TV shows the characters talk about, to the signs on storefronts, and even the way characters are dressed, everything just feels really authentic. I mean, keep in mind that I might be totally wrong, but the fact that it can feel so well done and sell you on the idea that we are looking at 1969 really speaks about the attention to detail. Moving on, I haven't really touched upon it yet, but I absolutely enjoyed the story and how Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is just about life in Hollywood. Don't get me wrong, I like action movies or thrillers as much as the next guy, but seeing a film like this that's just so laid back and just takes its time to show us these human moments was really refreshing. For instance, some of my favorite scenes in the film were as simple as Sharon Tate going to the theater to watch herself on the big screen, Rick Dalton having a heart-to-heart with Trudy Frazier about the book he is reading, and Cliff Booth driving home at night after a long day of hanging out with Rick. Though I have heard some people complain about the movie feeling too long, and like it dragged on a bit, I personally never felt like this, as I always felt invested and immersed in not just the overall plot, but the smaller moments as well. Finally, something that really impressed me was how well the movie managed to combine fiction with reality. From the moment you learn that Rick Dalton lives next door to Sharon Tate, you know that there has to be an encounter with the Manson family at some point, and I think the way the film leads up to it is very well done, and even nerve-wracking to an extent. I won't go too into detail or not spoil too much, but the Manson family is always there, and the way they become more and more prevalent until Rick and Cliff have their final showdown with them was definitely a very interesting angle, and fortunately, also one that I think was treated with respect. Whereas something like The Haunting of Sharon Tate creates an alternate history that reduces characters to one-dimensional pieces of cardboard and only seems interested in its own stupid twist ending, the material here is treated like an actual what if that gives us a somber conclusion. Now, switching over to any negatives of the movie, I would say that there is one personal one that I want to point out, and one that I have heard a lot of people complain about. When it it comes to the one that I have heard audiences complain about, that is the fact that although Margot Robbie is treated like a lead in promotional material, she barely has any screen time in the film. While I do agree that this is unfortunate, as she is a great actress and seeing her portrayal of Sharon Tate was really nice, I think that's kind of the point. I think that by giving us this interesting character that seems so full of life but that we barely get to see, it is supposed to make you reflect on what a tragedy it is that the Manson family cut her down in the prime of her life. I feel that this, plus the final somber moments of the film, are supposed to make the audience realize that the once upon a time part of the title is indeed indicative of a fairy tale and wishful thinking that things had gone differently in 1969. Now, as for my personal nitpick with the movie, I guess I'll admit that I was a bit bothered by how cartoony the violence was in the final act. While Tarantino's films have always been pretty over the top, at least I always felt like it was for a reason, and that similar to something like anime, it was for emphasis and artistic flourish. Here though, I just felt the violence was kind of awkward, as it was less like something out of an anime, and more like watching an episode of Happy Tree Friends. Still, the people on the receiving end of the violence are terrible murderers, so I guess I can't complain too much. In the end, while I went into this movie with pretty high hopes, I was more than thrilled to have come out blown away. Filled with awesome performances from the cast, a nostalgic look that perfectly captures the era, an intriguing story, and even a great job mixing fiction with reality, I highly recommend Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and think that it is worth a try. But hey, that's just my opinion. And remember, don't take anything I say too seriously. After all, I'm just the Wannabe Reviewer. Thanks for watching.